The mentor-student relationship is one of the most important dynamics in a story, because the mentor most often represents a parental role. Many mentors are like fathers to their students, because 1. The father is actually not present, 2. The father-child relationship is bad, or 3. The father is still in the story, but is not anymore or was never in a position to teach his child as he should be taught. And there, the mentor steps in, replacing the father so the student/son can achieve his full potential. In the rarest cases, there's a mentor straight from the beginning. The mentor only appears when the student is ready for his teachings. The student has to awaken first, being familiar with his journey and goals. Urahara met Ichigo after he already awakened his Shinigami powers and knowing about hollows and the other world beneath. Ichigo wasn't ignorant, but he didn't know the whole truth either. Therefore, he needed to learn about many things Rukia had to teach him. Jiraiya took Naruto as a student after Kakashi was busy with teaching Sasuke. He also wasn't there for Naruto straight from the beginning. Only after Naruto already made some missions and passed the first 2 parts of the Chunin exams, he became Naruto's mentor. Endeavor also became Deku's mentor after All Might and Gran Torino couldn't help Deku further. The next point, before talking about what characterizes a good mentor, is that there are always different mentors for different steps. A character never only learns everything he knows from only one mentor, but from many different ones. Because as the story evolves, the character also develops, being confronted with new challenges. Although there are more important mentors than others, one mentor is never enough. Naruto in his journey has a really good representation of that pattern. Naruto's first mentor was Iruka. He was the first ever person to show parental love to a conscious Naruto. He was always the outsider and no one really cared for him. He was still a child and desperately needed a parent, and Iruka took that role. That also was the moment Naruto awakened to his journey. Before Iruka stepped in, Naruto failed his exams, he didn't even take them seriously, and his wish of becoming Hokage was just a dream. But after Iruka risked his own life for Naruto, he awakened, showing off his potential, making 1,000 clones, and his mindless dream of one day becoming a highly respected ninja became a specific plan. Iruka's role as a mentor was short but very important for the situation Naruto was in. He was able to understand Naruto because Iruka was the same as a child, also being an orphan and trying to make everyone laugh so that he gets attention. Iruka told Naruto that he is special, full of potential and able to reach his goals. Naruto's next mentor was Kakashi, and he was also very important for Naruto, not only teaching him the basics of chakra control, but also the brutality and unfairness of the shinobi world. Kakashi supported Naruto the best he could and told Naruto that he was very smart in fighting. But one day, the next phase of Naruto has to start, and therefore Kakashi wasn't the best option as a mentor anymore, because he had to prepare Sasuke for his fight against Gaara. And therefore Jiraiya became the next mentor for Naruto. Jiraiya was the most important mentor for Naruto, making the first steps for Naruto to control his Kyuubi chakra, teaching him about Sennin mode, summoning jutsu, and the second most iconic move of Naruto, which is the Rasengan, the heritage of Naruto's biological father Minato. But not only the practical ninja tools, Jiraiya also taught a lot about the values of a good shinobi, the cycle of hatred, and how it was his own life task to find a solution. Naruto and Jiraiya shared a long journey together, and Naruto truly grew strong because of Jiraiya, who was the closest of a father figure Naruto had. Jiraiya wasn't Naruto's last mentor. In a later phase, he needed someone to help him with the Kyuubi chakra, and there B became Naruto's mentor. Way less essential than Jiraiya or Kakashi, but still very important. With other protagonists it is the same. Ichigo not only had Urahara teaching him, but also Old Man Zangetsu, White, and even his biological father Isshin. Urahara helped Ichigo a lot, making him familiar with the basics, Zanpakuto, and later even with Bankai. Old Man Zangetsu was nearly always present when Ichigo had to learn something, because he was the literal representation of some parts of Ichigo's own powers. The same with White. Isshin taught his son the final move, the highest version of Getsuga Tensho, when the situation demanded of Ichigo to sacrifice everything so Aizen can be defeated. That were some aspects of a good mentor. Now we can talk about the tasks of a good mentor. A quality of a good mentor is that he knows his limitations. Nonetheless, how much he likes his student In the end, he just remains a guide. He has to know his lines for not taking over tasks his student has to do on his own. For example, Ichigo, on the search for his Bankai. Even if Urahara knew which sword was the right one, he shouldn't show it right away. It is important for the whole progress of Ichigo to fight, search and find the sword on his own. Ichigo still has to go down his path on his own, because it's his way only, and a good mentor has to know that at some point he won't be a part of that journey anymore. Jiraiya was aware of his limitations. He just gave Naruto the bare minimum he needed to create the Rasengan. He knew for Naruto to one day become Hokage, he needs to find solutions on his own, no matter how much he struggles or how hard it is. Jiraiya left him the whole day alone so Naruto can practice and get one of his signature moves. Gran Torino also just gave hints to the way Deku should use One for All. Deku himself came to the conclusion. In master-student tag teams, it is nearly always the student which makes the final winning hit and not the master, because he knows his role of being a supporter. The next important task is that a good mentor can precisely estimate the potential and strength of his student, always knowing how much he can push him so that his student can realize his potential. The first scene that comes to mind is Jiraiya pushing Naruto off the cliff after he wasn't able to summon Gamabunta. Jiraiya always knew how strong Naruto actually was and therefore put him into a high-risk situation where Naruto is forced to make a connection with the Kyuubi. It was a very risky move, but in the end, both of them were successful. Urahara put Ichigo in a similar situation. The time ran out to save Rukia. Urahara himself needed 3 days to learn Bankai. Knowing how much potential Ichigo had, he properly estimated that Ichigo only needs 2 days to learn Bankai, with the same extreme technique he used. And it also worked out perfectly. A little correction here. It actually wasn't Urahara, but Yoruichi. Yoruichi did the Bankai training with Ichigo alone, but nonetheless it was Urahara who told Yoruichi about Ichigo's potential and his strength and his abilities and so on. So yeah, both of them were responsible for Ichigo's Bankai awakening, but it was mostly Yoruichi who trained with Ichigo, so yeah, I was wrong about that, sorry. Okay, now the third aspect, and that one is slightly different from the previous one. A good mentor has to know the talents and weak points of a student, so that they can work on it together, which takes a lot of time. The prime example for that point is Koro-Sensei. Because of his abilities, he's able to make clones of himself, and therefore he can be 28 individual teachers for 28 individual students, all at the same time. He's able to focus on every student independently, working with them on their weaknesses. Nagisa, for example, had problems with math. Koro-Sensei was able to work with him only on math. Kama was good at everything, but he had problems with his mentality. He wanted to win on the side, without putting much effort in. Koro-Sensei knew the arrogance of Kama and made clear that he had to work hard to achieve his goals. His talent alone won't be enough. But on the other hand, Koro-Sensei knew the strength of his students. Ryonosuke and Rinka were really good with the sniper. Nagisa and Kama were both really good at close combat, so he encouraged them to become better at fighting. Also did Koro-Sensei support Nagisa after he expressed that he maybe wants to become a professional killer. Koro-Sensei, who was the #1 killer, knew how talented Nagisa was and still offered his full support if his student wants to go that way. The second last aspect which I want to talk about is that a good mentor has to be in line with himself. What I mean by that is that a mentor has to act out what he's teaching or what he's trying to represent. Shoto, for example, never wanted his father to be his mentor until he started his redemption arc, because Endeavor wasn't what he always suggested as the second strongest hero. Shoto knew how badly Endeavor treated his own family. How he used his mother as a birth machine to create the perfect hero. For Shoto, Endeavor wasn't the person he wanted to be like, but after Endeavor accepted his mistakes, acknowledging how badly he treated the people closest to him and tried to better himself, Shoto again accepted him as a father and a mentor, being ready to learn from him. It is hard for that point to get protagonist mentors as examples, because most of the good mentors are totally in line with themselves, representing what they are teaching. Jiraiya was the ninja he talked about, standing for his values and being ready to sacrifice himself for the village. Urahara also backed up his values and never betrayed himself or anyone, therefore Ichigo respected him. The same with Yami and Kakashi, they all acted out what they stood for. Therefore, we have to take a look at the antagonistic evil mentors, because they often lied about their values and goals. For example, All For One. I already talked about him and Shigaraki in my video about evil mentors, so I won't repeat myself too much. All For One, for the most part, did a great job as a mentor, even though being evil. But there was one thing he always lied about. He told Tomura everything was for him. But in reality, All For One never shared the same interests Shigaraki had. All For One never wanted to stand for the people no one helped, like Tomura, Toga or Twice did. He just wanted the most power and control he could possibly have, in the end trying to take over Tomura's body. Tomura didn't want that and turned himself against his former mentor. Now, the last and most important characteristic of a good mentor is that he genuinely and fully believes in his student. Everything I said before builds on the trust and belief a master is willing to give his student. The belief of a master is the foundation for everything that comes on top. A mentor always has to think about his student successing, believing that the student can go down the path he is supposed to go, no matter how strong the obstacles are or how much he will struggle. Jiraiya, in his death moment, entrusted the most difficult task he thought he had to solve to Naruto, and he knew that he can find the solution to finally break the cycle of hatred. Urahara's entire plan to defeat Aizen was based on the assumption that his disciple would be able to damage the supernatural god being Aizen had become, to the point his own Kido could activate and seal Aizen away. Yami, on the verge of his powers, entrusted his sword to Asta, knowing that he can and will finish the job. Koro-Sensei took the worst class of the school. He didn't care about the opinions of other students and teachers. He believed that every one of his students can be in the top 50 of the grade level. He taught them, investing much effort, and in the end it paid off. I can go on with more examples, but I think everyone should understand now. Having genuine belief in the student is rule number one. But there are also negative examples, with mentors who lost their belief or were delusional. An example for the lost belief is Obi-Wan. He completely lost his belief in his former disciple Anakin, who already became Darth Vader. He fought him without any hope of bringing him back, but his other student, Luke, never abandoned his belief and was successful in saving his father. A negative example for the delusional mentor who believes too much is Gojo after he gets seared. It seemed like he didn't really care about being seared away, because he knew his students are able to handle the situation without him. But that clearly wasn't the case. Although Gojo was right about the potential of his students and them possibly being the strongest generation of all time, they had to tank one loss after another. Little spoiler warning for the manga. After Gojo was sealed, Nanami died, Nobara died, Yuki died, Kenjaku was able to successfully start the Culling Games, bringing back many highly skilled and dangerous sorcerers of the past. Now, big spoiler warning, Sukuna took over Megumi's body, now being even more overpowered with tamed Mahoraga and other Shikigamis. And if they hadn't freed Gojo from the prison realm, things would be completely hopeless. So Gojo wanted to create the strongest generation of sorcerers too much that he got delusional in his judgment of their current possibilities of winning. A good mentor has his faith grounded in reality. He knows exactly how long the road of a student is, and despite the difficulties, he still believes in his student, knowing that he can achieve what he wants to achieve.